Welcome back, everyone, to Wednesday Night Mythic Conversations. Did you miss me? I took a week off. I went on a wonderful adventure, but I'm back. I'm back for Mythic Conversations, and I'm super energized. I'm super excited to get started. So let's kick it right off. Welcome. If you are joining for the first time, whether you are here every single week, whether you are joining me live or catching this on replay, welcome to the weekly Legion Show Mythic Conversations, where we talk about all things Legions. I am your host. I'm a collector and customizer. My name is Jeremy Gerard. I also have the distinct privilege of being the director of sales and marketing for Four Horsemen Studios. That means that all the content you see at sourcehorseman.com, the official website for all things Legions and all things Four Horsemen Studios, is content I help to bring you. If you want to check out more of my work, the best place to do that at this point is on my Instagram page. That's at Mythic Customs, all one word. Of course, like I said, you can also check out www.sourcehorseman.com for all official news and actual, articles and everything about the lines. And then I'm here every single Wednesday, every Wednesday night, live at 7:30, or most Wednesday nights, right? Everyone who missed me last week is like, no, it's not every week. Most Wednesday nights, I am here live at 7:30 p.m. on YouTube doing this show. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Everyone is saying what's up. I actually do hang out in the kind of the lobby, I guess it is, before the show. And I love everyone kind of just talking and engaging. That's super cool, part of the community. Star asking, how was Ireland? Yeah, Ireland was great. So for those that don't know, I did take last week off. I took a family vacation, the first real vacation we've taken since COVID started. Like we've done a few things here and there. We've been more local, driving type vacations, but this was the first time I was on a plane since COVID happened. So we went over to Ireland. Prior to COVID, I traveled quite a bit. I traveled quite a bit internationally. I have been to Ireland before. My wife and I had gone to Dublin for a very short, 4-day trip a few years ago. But my kids wanted to go, so we decided to make a trip of it. I'm not much of a city person myself. My family isn't either. So we actually flew into Dublin. We landed like crazy early because from Boston to Dublin, it's like a 6-hour flight. You leave, and we left at like 6 o'clock at night. So when we land, it's like midnight here on the East Coast US, but it's like 5 a.m. in Dublin. So it was crazy early in the morning, but we got a car and we drove right out of the city and right to the countryside. If you saw my photos on the Mythic Legions Cabal, we actually spent the first night. We went to an area called Wicklow, and we did some hiking in the Wicklow and Glendalough area, and then we drove even further down south to a really remote area. I can't remember where it was, but there was a cool castle there. It was a really cool place. It's a castle called Wilton Castle that was burned down. Well, not burned down, but it was burned and destroyed in a fire many years ago. And a couple brothers purchased it and decided to renovate it. And there's literally only 4 places for rent in the castle. I rented the largest one. It was a 3-bedroom suite, and it was super, super cool. Just to kind of be in that environment. It was, very, very fun to be around that. My kids and wife always wanted to say they slept in a castle, so now they were able to, and it was a very mythic type event for me as well. But then we drove 3.5 hours west to the west coast of Ireland. It's an area, it's funny, before I went there, I was talking to my host, and I was asking for the address of my rental. We rented a 3-bedroom cottage out on the West Coast. The town was called Lisdoonvarna. The closest town of popularity next to it is called Doolin. Doolin is very well known for Irish music. It's very close to the Cliffs of Moher. We were about 10 minutes from the Cliffs of Moher. But we drove out there, and I had asked her, I had said, like, can I have the street address? And she said, well, our street doesn't have a name. And I was like, what? Like that blew my mind, because where I'm from here in the US, that's how we get around. We name our streets. What I realized when I got out to the West Coast is these are streets in the loosest of terms. They're basically gravel paths that are cut through giant fields. They're large enough for one car. So at first I was really nervous, like, hey, if another car starts coming, I don't know what I'm going to do. Luckily, that is a rare occasion, because usually you're the only one on these country roads. There's no one there, but it was super cool. It was really, really quiet. No light pollution. We got to see the stars at night. It was super comfortable. And then during the day, we hiked the Cliffs of Moher, and just did a bunch of fun kind of day treks around there before we ended back in Dublin. So it was a lot of fun, beautiful country, wonderful people. I had a blast, but I came back super, super energized. And that's where I am today. So, Star, that's my kind of rundown of my week in Ireland. If you've never been to Ireland, I mean, I will say traveling during COVID is a challenge. You know, you do, before you can come back to the US, you do need a negative COVID test, and it's something you have to pay for. It's about $100 per person to take that COVID test. So it's definitely not cheap when you factor in all stuff like that. The airport was kind of crazy trying to get through all the security, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. So welcome back. People are saying absolutely. McFly saying, really love the collab between Mezco and Four Horsemen for the Doctor Doom. Yeah, it's super cool figure. That was actually announced when Mezco had shown that off during one of their, I don't know if it was they call it their Mezco Toys Fair or whenever, but they had shown that off previously, and Cornboy had mentioned that the studio was involved with it. If you know Cornboy, you know that he's really, really into 112 Collective. He's also really, really into Fantastic Four. So that was kind of like a perfect mix of them being able to work together on that. One of the, again, if you know Four Horsemen Studios, you may know it from the Legions lines, which is interesting to say, because for so many years, people knew Four Horsemen Studios because of their work with, like, say, Mattel on the Masters of the Universe line. But it's incredibly cool to see that they're at the point now where a lot of fans, their introduction to Four Horsemen Studios wasn't through the work they do with companies like Mattel or Super 7 or Mezco in this case, but through the Legions lines. But they do still do plenty of projects with other companies. They are a design studio. They take a lot of that work as well. So it was very cool to see that collaboration today. Melissa, saying welcome back. Thank you very much. Trying to get through here. Road to Lisdoonvarna is a popular traditional Irish tune. I did not know that one. I did, while I was in Dublin, one of the things we did is we did go to one of the pubs where we saw like an Irish dance show and some musicians. And admittedly, like when we were in Doolin, they were playing music that I didn't necessarily recognize. In Dublin, which was awesome. The music in Doolin was great. But in Dublin, they played all stuff I recognize. They played Black Velvet Band and Whiskey in a Jar and Irish Rover, all the stuff, Seven Drunken Nights, which it's kind of cheesy. It's like going to the bar and seeing a cover band that's playing all the cheesy, typical songs, but you don't really care they're cheesy and typical because they're super fun to listen to. So it's kind of how I felt. Yeah, they did DC Universe Classics. They've done a ton. You'd be amazed how many things they've done I routinely will find out that they did something, and I'm like, oh, you guys seriously did that? I've had that on my toy shelf forever. Someone asking about murder hornets. That's funny. Right before the show, I was actually opening up my murder hornets. Wouldn't you know that I went away? Mezco requires you to sign for your packages, and I literally landed in Ireland, and the next day I got the message saying Mezco had shipped my stuff, so I had to have it sent to like a FedEx location, and I just picked them up. I just had time to open them. So cool figures, definitely my favorites of the Craig. Okay, so what else we got going tonight? Topic of conversation tonight. It's a celebration. Mark, I did see your comment earlier. I don't have any cupcakes. I'm very, very sorry. So I can't blow out a candle on a cupcake. I hope you won't unsubscribe. Accept my apologies. But tonight is a bit of a celebration. Crazy as it may seem, because I can remember doing a show where we kind of announced LegionsShop, and we were really excited for the first sale that we were going to run at LegionsShop. So to go from that to a year later, where we are today, and we're celebrating the 1 year anniversary. I mean, technically, we opened the shop, I think, on April 1st. So technically, we're past where the official 1 year anniversary is, but we're still in April. This is still anniversary month. So very, very cool to actually be at that point. So I wanted to do a little reminiscing tonight, a little walk down memory lane, look at, what has happened in the past year with LegionsShop, and then also look ahead not only to this weekend sale, but even possibly beyond that a little bit, and kind of talk to you about some of the stuff we are working on. First, though, let's talk about Legion's news. And of course, the biggest news in the Legion sphere or whatever is the pre-order, the storehorseman.com pre-order for the Cosmic Legion's Grave Knight wave is ending this coming weekend. So this Sunday, that is May 1st at 11 p.m. Eastern time, that Store Horseman pre-order ends. So I've said this many, many times before, but it bears repeating. If you want to get these figures at the lowest price you're ever going to pay, barring buying them at some crazy deal from a collector that's decided they want to get rid of their collection and they don't like money, this is the cheapest you're going to get these for. This retail, where the standard figures are, $37. The brute scale is what, like $45, and for $47, I think. And then the deluxe Sligor / Gravekeeper set is $60. Again, I look at like the Barbarian Builder Pack, which was a $55 set. I think it was $50 when it first was solicited years ago with Mythic Legions 1. But as of late, a $55 set, been released multiple times, and that thing still commands pretty significant dollars on the aftermarket. Because new fans coming into the line, that's a key piece that they really want to add. So regardless of how many times it's been available, still super desirable. I think that the Gravekeeper set is going to do something similar for Cosmic Legions. I made a post today where I showed the Gravekeeper, that Tusk figure, alongside the Tusk Sentry and the Tusk Science Officer, just as a way to remind people that, like, hey, all these parts are interchangeable, including, the alien heads that come in there. I think that people are going to have a blast mixing and matching those. So grabbing them now, if you want extras, this is the time to get them at that price point. $200 for the all-in. So if you want one of each character, $200 is going to get you the entire wave of 5 figures, plus the weapons pack. If you did the math and broke it down, it's actually the savings is a little bit more than the $37 figure price point. I think it's like $39 cheaper. So basically, if you want 4 of the figures, getting the all-in essentially gets you a free figure out of it. So very, very good deal. Super compelling to be able to do that. It's been a great sale so far. People have really responded well to these characters. Especially, I've heard a lot of people who either skipped Cosmic Legions. I haven't heard a ton of people who skipped it. I've heard more people that went a little light on it, but now they're starting to see, additional alien races. They're starting to see the line flesh out just a little bit more, because this Grave Knight is very much a continuation of Valkatar Book 1, but they're getting excited for that. So I'm seeing a lot of people having some regret that they didn't maybe go deeper on Cosmic 1, which not a huge worry. There's going to be plenty of opportunities to get Cosmic 1. But again, if you're stressed out about that, if you're worried about, I got to do it in an in-stock sale or get to an event or hope one of the retailers has extras, you won't have to worry about that with Grave Knight if you pre-order. That's one of the great things. The downside is the money is collected up front, so you do have to put the money up, and there is the wait before they come. But for that exchange, you don't have to stress out about missing out because it's a pre-order. So as long as you get in before the window closes, you're guaranteed the figures, and it's the lowest price. So once again, 5-figure set, Novian Lean, that like reptilian type character, member of the Bleeders Guild, Imbera Jimjera, the Skorox, scorpion-like female character, another member of the Bleeders Guild, Aya Satipian, the very gray, the Greyborn is the name of the race, but the classic gray alien-looking character, Kanox Vol, the brute scale cybernetic type warrior from the Red Spiral, first member of the Red Spiral we've seen, and then finally that aforementioned Gravekeeper Deluxe pack. That's what you're going to get in addition to the Grave Knight weapons pack. So super excited for that. Again, this Sunday. So get in there, get it done. Other than that, my friends from Wolf King Customs, I mentioned in my last show, they had a sale coming up. That sale ended this week. Len is hard at work getting all those orders filled. Thank you to everyone that supported that. A number of my pieces were available in that sale. So thank you all very, very much for that. Other stuff going on. I don't know. I can't remember when I posted the message about the All-Stars 5 figures. So I don't know if I've spoken about this on the show or not, but one of the things that I saw some people saying is they were really concerned that the pre-order for the wave that includes the All-Star figures was going to hit almost directly, almost immediately, I should say, after Grave Knight. And obviously, you've got to budget accordingly. So I did see some people questioning what they were going to order with Grave Knight because they wanted to make sure they had enough funds set aside for that next Mythic wave, for that All-Stars Mythic wave. So we did post something a few weeks ago, I believe it is now, where we let everybody know that, look, there's not going to be a pre-order right after this wave, that we're not going to do this pre-order until late July to give people some room. The general consensus on that information was super positive. A lot of people were very thankful that there was a window there was going to be a break, and also that there was enough transparency that we gave them so they knew what was coming to plan accordingly. Of course, some people complained that, and I did talk about this on the show, that's right. But some people did complain that they had to wait that long to find out who was in the wave. I'll be honest with you, I didn't say you had to wait until the end of July to find out who was in the wave. I just said that's when the wave is going to be solicited. So stay tuned. There's going to be stuff that gets revealed in the coming weeks and months as we build up to that. Speaking of stuff being revealed, stay tuned. May is going to be a big month for Legions Con. So Legions Con, we're going to talk about Legions Con a little bit today when we talk about LegionsShop, because they do go hand in hand in a lot of ways. Both of them, importantly, are run by Joe Viteri and myself. Legions Con, I've spoken about it in the past, but the next Legions Con show, the big Legions Con 4, Legions Con 2022, is the weekend of November 5th and 6th. We are just about 6 months away from that. So I think I previously announced that vendor tables are sold out. So the room is absolutely packed with exhibitors. We are looking at where we might be able to stash a couple others because we do have a wait list of people that want to get in. And I do see there are comments coming. I'm going to check those out in just a moment. May is going to be the month where we really start to put our foot on the gas. We've got some surprises to reveal to you about Legions Con, and I am hoping that we will be opening up ticket sales in the month of May. So a lot more to talk about with that. Trust me, there's going to be a bunch of cool stuff that's going to be announced both from Legions Con, from Four Horsemen Studios. This is going to be a monster year for all involved. So trust me, you're going to be excited. So I'm going to go back here and look at some of these comments. Are the Horsemen expecting any additional delays now that China's expanding lockdowns? I mean, it's definitely something to deal with. We've already had the factory have to shut down for short periods of time. We're playing it by ear. At this point, there's nothing that's been announced that we're expecting extended delays. They're trying to do a good job there to not make it so there are massive delays, but it's something we constantly are keeping our eye on. And like every other company out there that gets product from China, it's something we're dealing with. Curtis, the huge green toy on the floor, that is Tendril from an old 1980s line called Inhumanoids. I think I've actually spoken about that on the show before. But to make a long story short, it was a line that came out. It was one of those B lines or maybe even a C line when you think about it. When you have like the Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe, Transformers as the A lines, I was considered like Thundercats and Silverhawks and stuff B lines. And Humanoids would probably be a C line, but I loved it. It was a really wacky line of figures, and they had these giant monster characters. Those were the Inhumanoids. Tendril's a giant plant monster. I always wanted it when I was a kid. My mom wouldn't get it for me. So when I became a collector, I hunted one down, and I've had it in the collection ever since. It's actually worth a bit now. I think I paid $20. It took me years to find it. And when I finally did find it, it was like $20. It was hard to find back then. These are pre-eBay days where now you can find anything you want on eBay. Finally catching it live, Chris says. Chris, thank you very much for joining. And everyone is answering that it's Tendril from Inhumanoids for me. Okay, going through this. You like the mini wave? Yeah, a number of people have commented that they like that approach. Aristotle, con tickets for sale in May. Yep, as I just said, that is the goal. We're not expecting. We have a number that we're hoping to hit for the show. Obviously, there's a number that we probably can't exceed. It's a pretty big number. I don't imagine we're going to get there. But pre-selling tickets will allow us to kind of gauge that. We are fully expecting that there will be ticket sales at the door, and you don't have to pre-order. There will be no advantage to pre-ordering other than knowing the fact that you've got your tickets, you're set to go. We'll announce all of this, but we will be allowing people to pick up their badges early. So if you do get the ticket early, you can come. The show starts on the Saturday. Friday night, we're going to have a window of time where people can come and actually kick up their badges. So on Saturday morning, they can get in. We're going to have a line of people that already have their badges. They're going to be able to get in faster. So that's the biggest advantage. Yep, 6 months, Melissa. That's it. Awesome. Very cool. All right, so I'm trying to think, is any other news that I wanted to cover this evening? I don't think so. I think we're in pretty good shape. So Legion's shop. So bear with me if you've heard this story before, but for those who may not have heard it, I'm going to tell a tale of how Legion Shop began. And as I said, it goes back to Legion's Con, specifically the 2020 edition of Legion's Con. If you were with us at that time, you know that was the virtual Legion's Con. We had that first year in 2019 that was kind of proof of concept, kind of just a meetup and gathering. And then we had these big plans to do something really exciting for 2020, and we weren't able to do it because of COVID. But we did it virtually, and we had a great time. Hundreds of people participated. It was actually super, super cool to, especially despite the circumstances. After the show, my partner Joe Viteri reached out to me and he said, "Hey, what's next? How do we expand on this idea?" And again, if we think about the idea of what Legion's Con is all about bringing the community together. I hear this time and time again, especially there's been a lot of new fans coming in. If you're in the Cabal, maybe you've noticed, maybe you've seen that there's a lot of new fans coming into the line, coming into the groups, and almost without fail, one comment you hear repeated over and over is how refreshing this community is. And it's absolutely true. It's a wonderful community. I've spoken about that many, many times. It's a lot of hard work for, everyone from the Horsemen to Walter, who runs the Cabal, to every one of you. Every one of you makes the community what it is. So, the Horsemen and myself and Walter and the moderators in the Cabal, while we all get a lot of praise for the community, at the end of the day, every member of the community has a hand in making it the positive, awesome place that it is. So thank you for that. But you hear that a lot. You hear people saying how positive it is. And that was a big part of what we wanted to do with Legion's Con. We wanted to do a meetup where the community could get together with Full Horseman Studios, because from day one, we wanted them involved, right? We wanted them to be there, which is really, really cool to have a show that is about a toy line, about a toy company, and the makers themselves believe in it and are part of it. They are side by side with their fans and fellow artists and photographers and so forth, customizers, 3D printers. Everybody is there, really celebrating this line and, once again, this community. So that was the idea behind Legion's Con. So when Joe came to me after that November 2020 event, he said, "How do we take this to the next step?" And his idea was he wanted to do a store. And it's interesting to look back at that point, because I said this is our 1-year anniversary. So we opened the doors in April 2021, but we started talking about this and started laying the groundwork really in November 2020. And this was a time where the kind of customizing landscape, and certainly the 3D printed parts landscape, was very, very different than it is today. If I go back to that point, there were a couple companies that were doing the business model like Wolf King does still, where they had, sales every couple months, bunch of new products get dropped, some older products returning. They're all pre-order sales. So you place your order, the stuff gets printed, the stuff gets sent. That works really, really well. It's a great model. That's what a lot of people were doing. But we were also starting to see at this time a number of smaller artists starting to spring up. And it was a challenge because there were so many people at this time that were just starting to get 3D printers and starting to do sculpting, that you had a lot of people in the Mythic community, a lot of fans that were wary of maybe buying products from new artists who they weren't familiar with. And what they were finding is they were like, "Look, I want to get this custom head, but between the cost of the head and shipping that one item, it's not really feasible. The idea of being able to buy a head from this person and a weapon from this person and some soft goods and all these different pieces under one roof was really what the idea for LegionsShop was. Joe and I both having our, position of recognition in the community. Remember, going back, I was working with Four Horsemen Studios at this point on a part-time basis, but I wasn't a full-time member of the team like I am today. But that was the idea. We were like, look, people know us, people trust us. Let's be the middleman. Let's be the team. Just like with Legions Con, we bring everyone together for a celebration of the community, and we allow these artists and everyone to show off their creations. Let's do that in an e-commerce setting, where let's give artists who want to have their work get seen, let's give them the opportunity to have it seen, to have it sold through us. And as fans, you can go into the shop and you can mix and match and buy parts from lots of different artists, get them shipped all at once from someone you know and trust. And most importantly, the items will be in stock. That was something we wanted to do from day one. And it's hard. Like some of the stuff we did when I was first talking to a lot of other people in the community as we were starting LegionsShop, and we said to them, okay, we're not going to do the pre-order model. We're going to have everything in stock and ship it quickly. That was different. And a lot of people were like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Now, there's a lot of companies that are using that model now. There's a lot of companies that are doing stuff that they're in stock all the time and they're open 24/7, because that was the other thing. We didn't want to do the infrequent sales, the every other month or even every month sales. We wanted our doors open 24/7, in stock items. When something sells out, we restock it. That was the idea. And it's not easy. Additionally, bringing all these different artists together. If any of you have ever worked with artists, and I say this as an artist, we're not always the easiest people to work with at a business level, okay? Because we're creatives, and a lot of times that takes precedence over business common sense. And it's awesome. I would have it no other way. I love dealing with artists, but it's not without its challenges. So bringing all these artists together, these were a lot of challenges, but we felt that that was really what would be valuable to the community. And I can absolutely tell you the feedback I've received, the comments I've heard from people, and certainly the growth I've seen, not only of sales, but the amount of products, the amount of artists, the amount of customers and fans and friends we have with LegionsShop is a testament to the fact that this was the right move, and there's only great things ahead. So what I want to do tonight is look at some of that history, look at some of the parts that we've offered over the past year, all of which are still available in the shop. And then it's going to lead up to me showing you some new things that are going to be available in our sale this weekend, because I should certainly mention that, right? This weekend, Saturday, April 30th at 3 p.m. Eastern time, we are opening the doors again, and we have a ton of great stuff. A lot of stuff restocked, a lot of painted pieces restocked, a lot of brand new stuff, both painted and unpainted. It is going to be an epic sale and an epic way to celebrate the 1 year in business. So let's look at some of the stuff that we've offered. And I'm going to go just look real quick at all these comments here. Death by Mexico is the hotel deal sold out. Last time I checked, there were still a few rooms left, so you can call and go to legionscon.com. The information is there that you have to call. I do believe there are still some rooms. Dave Orkin, always in. Always appreciate your comments, Dave. Eric, yeah, nice to see you here as well. Did 4-H always use ZBrush from the start? No, they've mentioned this a lot of times before. The entire first Mythic Legions wave, including a fair amount of Advent of Decay, even into that, were all sculpted traditionally in clay. They didn't start sculpting digitally until deeper into the line. Everything in Cosmic Legions has been sculpted digitally. It's the first that's one of the nice things, is that everything they've done is fully digital. There are still some parts from Mythic that they don't have like really good digital files for yet. So we're still a mix. Everything now is being done digitally, but with Cosmic, it's great because it offers up a lot of efficiencies and like being able to send actual files to China versus having to send, casts of the stuff of the pieces. It makes for a much faster and cleaner project, basically, production. Star, I will tell you, you're saying as a sculptor, you can't feel threatened by it. Eric has talked about this at like Intern for a Day, and it's fascinating to hear him talk because I can tell you that they pushed back on going digital for years. Like the industry around them was going fully digital, and they were like, no, because they were, they'd spent so many years sculpting traditionally. One of the things Eric has always said that I always found fascinating, and I'm not a sculptor, digital or otherwise, but he said that, when you sculpt traditionally, you spend so much time just fighting the material, so much time smoothing it down and cleaning it up and sculpting one side and then having to match the other side. So much of your time is just dealing with those challenges of the actual material itself. He has said many times that when he sculpts digitally, even though you can turn on the mirror feature and sculpt one side and the other side just mirrors it, then he goes in, turns off mirror and changes some stuff so it's not perfectly symmetrical, if that's what he's going for. But what he has said is he doesn't spend less time on his sculptures now, he just spends the time differently. He can spend more time adding details, more time exploring different options, more time going in and really getting that sculpture to be the best that it can be, as opposed to fighting with clay. So I always found that interesting that he's not using this as a time-saving method. He's genuinely using it as a medium that allows him to do more while spending the same amount of time. Some of the older files have been digitized, have been scanned and digitized, but not everything. It's on the to-do list. Yes, it would make good documentary. So I'm going to show you here the first parts I want to look at. I think are a wonderful example of what the LegionsShop idea was, and this is one of the first things that we worked on with LegionsShop. This and almost everything you're going to see tonight, you've certainly seen me talk about before, but this is the Plague Doctor. So one of the cool things that I loved about LegionsShop was being able to bring together pieces from different artists. In this particular case, this Plague Doctor head was sculpted by Brian Burke of Von Burke Studios, and the soft goods robes were created by Strupp Family Crafts. Now, Von Burke Studios and Strupp Family Crafts were two of the original artists that were involved with LegionsShop. We had them signed up from day one. The cool thing I love about this is the Strupps don't do 3D printing and 3D sculpting. Brian doesn't do soft goods. So this is a combination of parts. They were offered at the same time. They were meant to go together. You could buy them separately because certainly people have done, different things with the head and with the soft goods. But this, I think, is a really cool example of the advantage of a LegionsShop. I was able to art direct this and kind of talk to Brian about what I wanted out of the part, talk to the Strupps about what I wanted out of the coat. I did all the painting on this. I put this together. It uses a Shadow Elf 2.0 figure as the base here, with just a couple other accessories on it. But this, I think, is very, very indicative. And you're going to see a lot of other examples tonight of combinations from different artists. That's one of the things that I really, really love, because one of the things that I learned early on, my first custom parts I ever put out, as you well know, are my Kitsune Foxes. And they were wildly popular. And I think a big reason they were so popular was when we first debuted them, we showed those heads on very specific bodies. Take this head, pop it on an Elf Ranger, pop it on a Goblin Legion builder, pop it on a Shadow Elf Ranger, and you can create these really cool characters as is. It was super, super simple, and we gave people recipes. So that was something I always wanted to do with LegionsShop, but I wanted to expand on the possibilities that I was already working on with Wolf King Customs. I wanted to do something different. I didn't want LegionsShop just to be another place that I was selling 3D parts. I really wanted it to be about teamwork, to be about community, to be about working together and collaborating. So something like this, I think, is very, very indicative. The hat is part of the sculpture star. It's all one piece. We do have a Plague Doctor head that doesn't have the hat on it, but the hat does not come separately. By the way, the coat here is out of stock. The Strups are working on more of them. The heads are all they will be in stock at LegionsShop when we go for the sale. Now, I do have, I'm going to bring up my phone here because I have a list on my phone of how I want to present these things tonight. I had a very specific order of how I want to talk about these. Most weeks I don't have a script. I literally just ramble for 90 minutes. But tonight I want to do something a little different. One of the other things that I personally loved about LegionsShop, and again, a lot of this tonight is me just talking to you about a project I'm excited about, something I've been fortunate to work on for the last year, and just kind of going down memory lane for myself. And one of the other things that I've been excited to do, I mentioned Wolf King Customs and the parts that I've put out with Wolf King. Here's 3 examples right here. So you know that I love my critters. I already mentioned my Kitsune Foxes, but this is also an example of the rabbit head, or one of the rabbit heads we did with Wolf King, and appropriately enough, one of the wolf heads we did with Wolf King. Now, one of the cool things with these is I can only put out so much with Wolf King. I don't want to overdo it because, Wolf King is a team effort. Emil Wickman, Stephen, Bashotti, Len, of course, Walter DeMarco. All of these people have parts that they put out through Wolf King Customs. They're all very proudly also involved with LegionsShop. But all of these heads were offered through Wolf King Customs with different paint options, paint decorations. They were also offered unpainted. One of the fun things that I've liked doing with LegionsShop is being able to do smaller runs of different alternate colors, specifically through LegionsShop. So that Black Rabbit, it was very much inspired by Watership Down. There's the Black Rabbit in Watership Down, which is essentially the character of Death in Watership Down. I was reading that and watching that most recent animated version of it, and I thought that would be a lot of fun to paint one of the rabbit characters black with those red eyes. So that's where that character came from. I had painted the Kitsune Fox white in the first sale, but painting it with red eyes and making it more like a vampiric kitsune, I thought was a lot of fun. So that's another variant that was available there. And then painting the wolf red, I love my Fury Clan. So kind of doing a Fury Clan version of the character, the evil wolf character of Skull, I thought was really fun as well. The wolf head is no longer available. That's kind of a pain to paint, so I haven't done one of those in a while. But both that Black Rabbit and that White Fox, they've been sold out as of recently. I also did a black version of the Kitsune. Both the Black Rabbit, the Black Fox, and the White Fox will all be back in stock at LegionsShop this Saturday. So that's a lot of fun there. So this is another thing I've been excited to do that LegionsShop has allowed me to do. It's given me a vehicle to explore different colorways on some of my parts and put them out there for others to enjoy as well. While the the primary versions, I guess I always think about it the way, again, I started collecting Spawn. That's how I really got into toy collecting. So I always remember Spawn was big for the initial version, the initial line with the initial colors. And then later on, they would do repaints. So to me, this is my repaint wave. This is kind of that mentality of, the orange fox is what's offered at Wolf King Customs. The brown version of the rabbit is offered at Wolf King Customs. These are the alternate versions that are offered at LegionsShop. Star, I actually did a white version of the fox and Arctic one that actually does have some fur. I like that as well. So what else? Let's see what's next. Okay. So interestingly, when we first started LegionsShop, we started by reaching out to a number of artists, people we knew, people like Brian Burke and Len from Wolf King Customs, people like Emil Wickman. We reached out to, all these people, Anthony Hausiel from the Toy Forge, Stefan Del Toro from Detour Customs, Vincent Garma from Dragon Forge Creations. And if I'm forgetting you, the Strups, there were a number of people that we reached out to right from the get-go. But we were always looking for other artists as well. And I remember on this show actually talking about LegionsShop, and somebody in the comments said, hey, I want some information about selling stuff at LegionsShop. Can you, tell me what I need to do? And I said, hey, reach out to me after the show and I'll talk to you offline, basically. And it was a young man named Tristan. And you may know Tristan from the company Immortal Collections. So Tristan and his Carlo, they are the team behind Immortal Collections. And that's how their relationship with LegionsShop started. They reached out and they said, hey, we'd like to sell some stuff. And I'd never heard of them before. I had never seen their product. No one in the Legions community knew who they were. And that is the perfect kind of artist to bring into LegionsShop, because exactly what I was talking about, where we have the recognition, we have the trust of the community, we can be that go-between to bring their art to other people. So they sent me some of their first pieces, a couple goblins, like an orc, and it was cool. We still have all of them at LegionsShop, but I can tell you that having worked now with those guys, with that team for about a year, the quality of their work has gotten so much better. And this is not anywhere near a knock on their original quality. It's a testament to how they're just killing it these days. I've had the privilege to work with Tristan and Carlo a number of times on some projects. And actually, the first piece that was ever a LegionsShop original owned piece that we created was through them. So I'm going to bring that up right now. I reached out to him and we were selling some of their products. And I said, hey, would you ever consider taking a commission and doing a product, a piece that we designed that we would pay you for and we own it? And he said, yeah, absolutely. We'd love to do that. And I've done it a number of times with Tristan since then, some of which I'll show, but this is the first one. And it's super cheesy. I'm going to admit that, right? An orc, or in this case, an ogre with a skull for a mask, not breaking any new ground there. It's been done before, but it's cool. Right? It's a cool kind of design. We thought that would be a lot of fun. So I sketched this up. I sent it to Tristan, and he did a great job. He absolutely nailed this thing. This is the first one we did. So one of the advantages of 3D sculpting and 3D printing is you can change the size. So while we released this as initially a ogre scale figure like you see here, later on, we resized it for orcs as well. We have both of these available unpainted, both the orc and the ogre, in the LegionsShop sale this weekend. No painted right now. We're out of our painted ones. Actually, Melissa from Lady Tank Studios did our most recent run of these, and we've sold them all at this point because she did a great job. But this was another kind of turning point for us, because this was a point where up until this time, everything we had been selling was either like that Plague Doctor head I showed you, which is owned by Brian Burke. Because that's one of the cool things with LegionsShop is we act as the go-between, but artists still own their work. So that Plague Doctor head, even though it is a LegionsShop exclusive and it's not sold anywhere else, Brian and Von Burke Studio retains all the rights to that. We have no ownership of that at all. That's, that has always been important to us, to have artist created parts that the artists continue to own and control. But at the same time, we wanted to have some of our own pieces as well. We have ideas. And for me personally, this was really exciting because that I've worked for years with Walter DeMarco of Mass Customs. All the stuff that I sell through Wolf King Customs, all of my critters, those have all been partnerships through Walter and myself. But being able to work with a different artist and to do stuff that a lot of the stuff I do through Wolf King. So I'll tell you this. The stuff I do through Wolf King is more my own passion. It's more the stuff that I'm really, really excited for. I like my critters. I like some of those ideas. That's the stuff I want for myself. And the fact that other people dig it as well and want to buy it is just icing on the cake. A lot of the stuff I do through LegionsShop, I do less for personal fulfillment, and I do more because I think it would be cool in the line and others would enjoy it. Now, it's not to say that I don't think it's cool and I don't want it in my collection. I have all of it in my collection as well, but those are the two different things. So I've loved working with Tristan on these pieces, and quite a few of the parts I'm going to show tonight and quite a few of the parts we have in LegionsShop right now are the product either of my partnerships with Immortal Collections or some of the Immortal Collection stuff that they have put out. They have become an absolute wonderful member of the LegionsShop team. We're super excited to have them on board. Let's see what people are saying here. Yep, Melissa's saying, I love that sculpt. Yep, you've painted a number of times, Melissa, as I said. Love that orc skull mask. My son has a D&D half-orc character with a skull mask, and he loved that head. Thank you very much. The leather wrap on the axe handle, that axe that I showed there, that was actually a piece from a 1/6 scale figure. I don't even know what it was from. If you check out the show that I did about customizing ogre scale figures, one of the things that I mentioned is because the ogres are kind of oversized figures to begin with, I love to outfit them with new weapons by like going on eBay, for instance, and looking for 1/6 scale weapons. There's a lot of people, just like they do for Legions, there are people that will break them apart and piecemeal sell them. People do that for 12-inch figures all the time. There's a large customizing community for that 1/6 scale. So that's a figure. A lot of times I have parts that I buy, weapons I buy, I have no idea where they came from, what the originating figures are. I just do a search for like 1/6 scale axe or 1/6 scale weapon, and I find these things. So that leather that's wrapped around it is probably real leather. It's at that scale, they do stuff like that. Mark Hausil saying, working on a Plague Doctor right now. Yes, absolutely. Oh, Cap busted the brim. Well, sorry, he's battle damaged. So Brian saying, I can't emphasize enough that having multiple artists work together versus bashing each other's is amazing. So Brian's someone I met recently at ToyCon, New Jersey, new to the Mythic Legion space, absolutely killing it. He's going to do some painting work for LegionsShop before you know it. I'm just waiting to line up some projects that he can knock out of the park. But he's been doing some great stuff. If you saw in the Mythic Legions Cabal, that giant woolly mammoth that was posted recently, that was his work. And him and I had some time to talk together, and it was really interesting where some of the other communities that he's from talking about some of the backbiting and some of the jealousy and people not helping each other. And when I was like, dude, it's the Legions community is totally different. I mean, someone goes out there and says, hey, does anyone have a paint match for this? Or how would I do this? And multiple people are, jumping over each other to help them out. Very, very willing to share secrets, do shows like this, videos like I do, sharing our knowledge. And he was surprised that it was so warm and welcoming. And if you've been in the Cabal, you've seen Brian posting a lot because he's loving it. He's very enthusiastic about it. And he's a Legions Con exhibitor this year as well. Can't wait to see what he's going to have for display. Very cool. So next thing I want to look at here. So I think I'm going to stay on the theme of Immortal collections and show you some of the other stuff that we worked on together. And it's interesting because, again, I said I also have Melissa here tonight. This is a part that is another team combination. So this Vampire Knight, one of the things that I wanted to do is I came up with this crazy idea that I said, you know what? I want to do like a Vampire Sentinel type character because I had the Baron Voligar 1 figure and I said, Baron Voligar 2 is such a cooler interpretation of the named character that in my collection, I'm going to use Baron Voligar 2 as my Baron Voligar. So I have Baron Voligar 1 that is a more standard looking. It's a less Baron Voligar 2 is so uniquely styled. It works well as a major named character, where Baron Voligar 1 it's an older sculpture. It's a lot of older pieces. It works better, in my opinion, as less, not a named character, more of a army builder type character. So I wanted to do something different with the helmet and not just use the bucket helmet. So I got the idea of what if I did something that had that kind of like Spartan-like crest or that Mercurian type crest, but was more vampiric. What would the helmet on Vetus and Romulus look like if it was vampiric in nature? So I again grabbed my sketchbook and I sketched up this character. And I worked with Tristan on it, and he did a great job, really bringing that skull type look into the face with the bat wings on the sides. And this was around a time where I got contacted by someone named Josh Mez, Mr. Mezcat. A lot of people know him as. Super interesting dude, does all of his sculpting and everything in CAD programs versus ZBrush. And I worked with him to do a sword and a shield to accompany this helmet. Now, you don't see the sword here. It's actually tucked in his belt. But the idea was, once again, in thinking about vampiric versions of these pieces, I looked up the costume design for the movie 300, right? So, Leonidas and the Spartan warriors, took that and I tried, their shields have like that big, almost like V on it. And I said, well, what if I took the idea of that V, but kind of made it more bat-like? So I again, sketched all this out and I worked with Josh and he did those sculptures. Also did a robe, a soft goods robe with Strupp Family Crafts. And even I reached out to, Four Horsemen Studios and I said, hey guys, would you be cool with us actually putting that purple kind of cross motif on the soft goods robe? You may not know it, but that motif, that purple kind of symbol that is on the chest of Baron Voligar and also on the banner, that is not meant to just be like a weird interpretation or weird variation on the Templar cross. A lot of people assume that. It's actually a stylized version of the character of Alithia. So Alithia with the 6 different arms match is that symbol there. That's what that was meant to be. So I thought that was super cool. Worked really well. Four Horsemen Studios gave us our approval to use that symbol. So there is also a soft goods robe that has that Alithia symbol on it. Once again, the Alithia, the robe is out of stock. The weapons and the helmets are all in stock. Now, the one you're seeing here, the helmet you're seeing here, this is an instance where I've said this before. I am a toy customizer, but before I was ever a customizer, I was a collector. I painted this head, not this one, that you see in the photos, but I painted a version of this head for myself and I had it on display. And then I reached out to Melissa and, I had painted a few runs of this differently than you see here. And then I reached out to Melissa. She was going to paint a run for me and she went in a different direction. Okay. She took it differently than I did. She painted it with a bone mask where I went with more steel. She painted the crest a little bit differently. And she did a wonderful job. So much so that when I got it in hand, I liked it so much more than my own that I replaced the one I had painted with this one. I love having work from other artists in my collection. Again, collector before customizer. I have pieces from Dennis Derby, pieces from Zombie 13, pieces from Steve Bisciotti, and I have this piece from Melissa in my collection as well. Love, love, love these pieces. And again, this is another example of that teamwork, putting together different pieces. This one, I mean, literally, when you look at this figure right here, this is a head that was sculpted by Immortal Collection, designed by me, sculpted by Immortal Collections, weapons that were designed by me, sculpted by Mr. Mezcad, right? The head was printed by Noble Bear Customs. The weapons were printed by Mr. Mezcad. The soft goods robe was done by Strupp Family Crafts. The weapons were painted by me. The head was painted by Lady Tank Studios, Melissa. And then I put it all together into this figure. I mean, right there, there's like 5 artists who have their fingerprints on this one custom. And what I love about it is it's a very cohesive design. Like it looks like it all goes together, despite the fact that all of those pieces have those different artist fingerprints on them. Always something that I take pride in, combining things together to make them look cohesive. But again, that mentality is at the core of what I think LegionsShop is all about. Yes, Lord Stephen, I am back. Joe saying the cloaks are great. I bought 2 for my Vampire Royal Guards. Yeah, I love the fact that you get 2. I have 2 in back of me too. I have 2 of them right there. They look so good. Different helmets on them though. Next in line. So I had a few more things to look at here from my partnership with Tristan. And this is probably one of my favorite pieces that I've done. Definitely one of the most popular pieces we've done on LegionsShop, and that is the Ogre Scale Demon Skull. So again, being able to do in different sizes. When we first put this for sale, we did this particular figure as this head as the Ogre Scale, and we did another companion one that uses the same skull, but instead of having like you can see this particular skull here, it's got like chains and stuff. Like the back of his head has a metal plate, and it's like that ring and those chains in front are what is holding it in place. So we did this head for Ogre Scale first, and then we later released it for 1.0 figures. So it works well on like a 1.0. Looks great on the Belphegor body, for instance. Also actually works really well on goblins. The Wendigo, the companion piece was a Wendigo, so it doesn't have the chains, but it's got more antlers. That we did for 1.0 first, and then we later upsized for Ogre Scale. They're super, super fun pieces to paint, super fun pieces to do. I've done a video on painting these, but this is one. I mean, this is just a Shadow Equidron body with some repainted wings that I popped in the shoulder ports and this head on it. Absolutely love this piece. Then this is one that was challenging to work on. I sketched this out, and when I first gave it to Tristan, I said, okay, I want it to be like, kind of a dog. What did I said a goat skull. I said, I want to be a goat skull with all these extra horns. And he actually sculpted a goat skull for me, and it looked totally different than what I sketched. And it's funny because I clearly don't know anatomy. I said to him, I said, well, that's not what I wanted. And he said, well, you said you wanted a goat skull. You didn't draw a goat skull. You drew some wacky, like, demon canine. And I was like, wacky demon canine, that is apparently what I want. So that's part of the creative process. That's part of going back and forth and, really honing these things in. That's also one of the cool things about fantasy. I love fantasy that makes sense, that, has a tie in, armor that can be fantastic, but also feels functional. But it's also fun when you're doing a giant demon to go a little bit off the range and make it a little wacky. And that's kind of what this is. So this is one of my favorite pieces. I still have this on display. I also have the Wendigo version as well. I've painted this many, many times, and these always sell very, very well for us. The sword is sick. Yeah, the sword is actually from an old World of Warcraft figure. Again, hanging out in the fodder box was a perfect one to put with this. Pablo saying that's the first head sculpt I bought from LegionsShop, and it's my favorite. Well, thank you very much for the support and for the kind words there. I am pretty fond of it myself. Let's see some other stuff. So one of the fun things that we've been able to do with LegionsShop as well, I'm going to bring this figure up here. One of the cool things we've been able to do is bring out parts or bring in parts that either didn't get released elsewhere, or I think were maybe they didn't get enough attention elsewhere. And this dinosaur kit here is definitely one that I think fits that bill. So that dinosaur head, that's something that my friend Walter from Mass Customs sculpted literally years ago. And he did it as a commission. He did it as a commission for someone, and he was selling it on his website. So Walter, before he worked with Wolf King Customs, used to sell through Shapeways. And this was a piece that I had seen. It looked kind of cool, but I at first I didn't even know how I would use it. But this was early on at LegionsShop, and I was trying to find parts. I was trying to bring new pieces out there. So I was working with Walter, and I said, "Hey, do you have any parts that we could possibly offer that you're not really doing much with anywhere else?" And this was one of the ones that he showed me, and I said, okay, great, let's get this done. And the feet on this are from the Akupower turtles. So I said, hey, you know what? This will be super cool. I'll pair it with the turtle feet. I'll put it on the Hellfire Goblin body. The sword here is called the Spinal Sword. That was a part that was done by Anthony Hauseal of Toy Forge, along with Len LaGuardia from Wolf King. I was like, this will work really well all together. And then Walter drops the bomb on me and says, oh, I forgot. I don't really own that part. That there was actually a commission that I did for someone. He just, said I could sell it on my Shapeways thing, but I can't transfer the rights to you. So I said, okay, well, who is it? So it was someone I knew. So I contacted them, and I ended up buying the rights for the head. And it's interesting because this is a head that had been out for probably 2 years when I first offered it on LegionsShop. And when we first offered it, people were seeing it for the first time. So that's one of the things that I'd love to be able to do, is take parts like this that didn't get the attention that they probably deserved. The artist, whatever the artist was doing to try to get it out there, it didn't resonate with an audience, whether it was the platform they were using, the way it was presented, but being able to paint it. And I've done a green version as well. This is one of the things, and pair it, not only paint it, but pair it with other cool pieces like the Spinal Sword and the feet here. That's, I think, a very cool thing that gets these parts out there. So we sold this as kits, so we still have these. And these did very well for us as well. And again, super impressive considering it was like a 2+ year old part that we brought into the shop. One of the things that I've loved to be able to do with LegionsShop as well is do work with people that I'm friends with, people that I may not have an opportunity to work with otherwise. And one of the people I've absolutely loved working with is Drew Grubbs. So Drew Grubbs is one of my all-time favorite painters. Literally every piece that you see here, I have one of these heads by Drew painted in my collection. I think I have more painted parts from Drew in my collection than literally any other artist. He is one of my absolute favorites, if not my favorite custom painter. In part because Drew kills paint pieces that I hate painting. I don't like the orc is fine, but these human heads and these dwarf heads, I don't like painting those at all. I can do it, but I'm miserable the entire time. So I would much rather get a piece I love from an artist I admire than struggle through doing it myself sometimes. These pieces here, the first three, the two dwarves and the orc, are interestingly examples of what I was talking about a minute ago as well. Those were all pieces that were sculpted by Emil Wickman. So he sculpted those really early on when Wolf King was first getting started. And Emil went through this incredible creative phase in those early days where he sculpted a whole bunch of orc heads, a whole bunch of dwarf heads. And, Wolf King could only release, so they only wanted to release so many at a time. But Emil just kept pumping out sculptures. So he got to a point where months in to working with Wolf King, all of these things had kind of been swept under the rug because in part, he had learned new techniques. He had improved some of his stuff. So the original versions of some of these heads, he wasn't even happy with anymore. Once again, early on, looking for different types of products that LegionsShop could offer, I remembered some of these heads and I said, hey, Emil, these were never released. Can we get these sold? Can we actually put these for sale? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So he went in, he cleaned them up a little bit, made some improvements on them. And it was great to be able to bring these actually into LegionsShop. When I needed these heads painted, specifically when I needed those two dwarf heads painted and when I needed that Viking style head. So that Viking style head, that is a product from the Toy Forge that was actually sculpted by Travis Canning. So all of those were pieces that we work with a lot of different painters at LegionsShop. And one of the things I love to do is know, and any painter who's ever worked with me knows that one of my first questions is, what do you like to paint? Because I want you to be passionate about the products you're painting. So I don't want to hand you a dwarf head if you're like, oh goodness, if you're like me. Like if someone handed me a bunch of dwarf heads to paint, I would hate that person. I would say, I don't like you very much. You're making my life miserable. However, if they handed me like one of those ogre skulls, I totally dig painting those. So I always try to ask artists, I've spent so many years as an art director that knowing what people are good at and what they want to do is something I've always found to be a great way to get the best work out of them. So Drew is one who, he's like my favorite kind of artist to work with because he'll literally do anything and he'll do a great job. He likes doing all of it. He did a wonderful job on these, all of those pieces. He's been my go-to person for stuff like this. While we don't have any of these heads available painted by Drew, I do have some of those orcs that were painted by Lord Stephen, which are just as good as the ones Drew did. Right, Stephen? Because Stephen is another incredible talent. But I do have some cool stuff from Drew that's going to be hitting in this sale. Specifically, if you've seen the sculptures he painted from Jeremy Wilson, the Mean Joe figure that goes with Calavius, or the Mean Joe head, the Bald Knight Templar, and the Butcher type head. I've got all of those painted in this coming weekend sale. Again, all this stuff I'm talking about, because it's stuff that's in stock, it is limited numbers. But being able to work both with Emil and with Drew, some examples here, absolutely wonderful. That's been an incredibly fulfilling part of the past year, I would say, as well. Let's see what's next on my list. Oh, here's someone that a lot of people may not know, an artist. Like everyone knows Brian Burke and Emil Wickman, but an artist that I've loved working with is Vincent Garma from Dragon Forged Creations. And the reason I love working with Vincent is he does stuff that nobody else is thinking about and nobody else is doing. Um, the photo on the left is a Templar Knight. You can see he's got, and I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see he's got this dagger that's in a sheath, and you can't really see on his back, but that sword is actually in a sheath as well. One of the things that I love, like when Mythic Legions came out in the Advent of Decay wave with that sword that actually has that fits in a sheath, I loved that. I thought that was super super cool because I love having swords that actually fit in some kind of a scabbard. A lot of the swords in Mythic Legions don't do that. Vincent did a bunch of different sheaths. He did a sheath for the standard dagger that I just showed you. He did a sheath for the standard sword. He did kind of an open-ended sheath that the bigger sword goes in, and one that the Zweihander goes in as well. I love that type of thinking. He's thinking about pieces, like so many of us are thinking about new heads, new weapons to create all new characters. Heads are obviously the biggest thing that people do. The fact that, he's sitting there and he's thinking, what kind of these little add-on accessories can I create that will be very, very small, but will add something super, super cool to the line. Pablo asking about the crowns. The crowns are a brand new piece. So this is the first time those are being shown anywhere. That's a brand new piece that Vincent from Dragon Forged is going to be selling on LegionsShop starting this weekend. We will have those crowns. Perfect example of a small, inexpensive little accessory. I think they're like $6 each. Little inexpensive accessory that adds so much to a character's design. You can see it here, two different crown styles. One that is shown on the Fury Clan Orc, one shown on that vampire head. These will fit other heads as well. Love this idea. Love this thinking. It's something that is really, really indicative of the type of artistry that Vincent from Dragon Forge Creation is doing. And if you look at the stuff he's done through our store, he's done loin pieces, he's done shoulder armor pieces, scabbards, crowns, windows for dioramas, stuff that nobody else is I'm seeing doing. And I love the fact that he's doing them with us. Very, very cool. On the subject of Vincent, the number one selling thing that we've had from Vincent, I brought a bunch of these to the Toy Con show somewhat recently, and we could not keep these things on our table. We sold every one we brought, is this chair. So this 3D printed chair, and Vincent's another one. I mentioned Josh Mez earlier that sculpts and CAD programs. Vincent does as well. Vincent uses some different printers and his stuff is great. It's really, really cool. This is a fun example of a chair that we've sold through LegionsShop, and a fun thing. So you can see that Magnus is sitting in the black version of the chair. That's what we've been offering as of late. We're sold out right now, but we have more coming in that should be in for this weekend's sale. Great diorama display piece. On the right, you see two different wood versions of the chair. So a while back, we sold a very limited amount of those chairs that came fully custom painted. And at the time, we didn't announce who the painter was. We let it be a surprise. All of the chairs were painted in different color, different wood tones. You didn't know which one you got. Whatever you ordered it, and we just sent you one of them. So it was kind of like a blind box. We've never actually said this. The only people that know who painted them are those people who have them because they've seen the signature on the bottom. But those were all painted by Dennis Derby. So Dennis is one of my dearest friends in the Mythic Legions community. People know him for being incredibly, incredibly generous. Dennis, just to have some fun, painted up a handful of these chairs. Did not want credit for them because that's the type of dude he is. But he did sign the bottom of them. So if you have one of those chairs, it was a very, very limited number that we actually sold. And on our 1 year anniversary, I figured it was appropriate to let everybody know that, yeah, that was the little secret behind those chairs, that they were painted by one of the premier customizers in the Mythic Legions community. Yeah, the paint jobs he did on them, Star, were absolutely incredible. And like I said, he painted a small number of them, but every single one of them looked different. You've seen these in a lot of different photography. Trevor Williams has a couple of them. He's done some really cool photos with those chairs as well. Wonderful, wonderful pieces. So I have shown a number of parts that we have coming up this weekend. I showed the crowns. I've talked about some restocks. We do have some brand new pieces coming as well. And one of the ones that everyone has been waiting for very, very anxiously is this one right here. So Jeremy Wilson, he created these things. He showed these parts for the first time quite some time ago, and people went nuts for that ogre. That ogre knot is what he called it. So this is an ogre scale attachment, ogre scale add-on that people went crazy for. This was something, it's so big, it's so chunky. Jeremy did not want to print it himself. So we partnered with Noble Bear Customs. They did the printing on it. I also asked Jeremy, I said, hey, I think a dwarf version of this would be really cool as well. So he went and he did a dwarf version. So we called this the Ogre Knot and the Jugger Dwarf. And the two that you're seeing here are actually painted by Jeremy. These are the samples that he did. We will have both of these parts, the Ogre Knot and the Jugger Dwarf, available this weekend, unpainted, and we actually did get some painted as well. And I have one right here. This was actually painted by Melissa Somerville of Lady Tank Studios. She did some dwarves, some of the Jugger dwarves, kind of paint matched to the Bronze Dwarf Legion builder. And then she painted this one to match the Ogre Legion builder. She did add some more detail to it, but I'll show you what it is it is just, I mean, it is a giant. I mean, you can see in my hand how big this thing is. It is a huge monster of a piece, and it just fits right on. Now, I have no blue tack or anything. It falls right off. If you put some blue tack on there, it will adhere it a little bit better. It doesn't need that to just stand like this because it rests on the shoulders. But if you want to protect it, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Super, super cool. It's such a unique, crazy looking type head. I absolutely love it. And there's a lot of details. So the paint jobs that we put on them, we specifically didn't go crazy with the paint applications, so it would work. There's more than you'll find on the Legion builder, but there's a lot of details. You could go absolutely crazy with this, painting all the little rivets and all the little details. The one that I showed from Jeremy actually had a little bit more paint applications on it, trying to keep this at a reasonable price point with those paint applications, so fans who do want a painted version can actually get one. So that's one we're super, super excited to add. And it's just one of the new pieces that we will have this weekend. So I've talked about a lot of different pieces, and we're also going to have all of our standard stuff. You know, one of the, talking about getting to work with cool people, one of the things I was thrilled was when we started being able to add these. So I remember talking to Nate Barch. So if you know Legions, you know Nate Barch. The packaging of every Legions figure has his wonderful artwork on them. I'll answer your question in a minute, Pablo. Love his work. He sells his prints only when he does shows. So when he comes out to like PowerCon or Legions Con, he sells his prints, but he was not selling them on a website or anything. So when he reached out and he said, hey, Jeremy, it was right after Legions Con last year. He said, would you want to be able to offer this stuff at Legion Shop? And it was really cool to be asked to do that, to be able to offer these super official type pieces. These are his prints of his artwork that grace the packaging. I couldn't say yes quickly enough. So the fact that we have a variety of prints from Nate in the shop, another super cool thing. And again, part of that mentality that it says right on the homepage for Legion Shop, your source for all things Legions. Again, we want, going back to the beginning, being able to offer 3D printed heads and weapons and soft goods and diorama display pieces and artwork and pre-orders for actual Legions figures, full custom figures, painted parts, offering that all under one roof, bringing the community together, being able to do ideas and projects like you've seen here. That is absolutely at the essence of what Legion Shop is about. And we're not done yet. We have so much more ahead of us. The artists that we are working with, they're consistently coming up with new ideas. We're excited to be able to offer those new ideas to you. One of the things we're super excited about for this coming year, if you were at ToyCon New Jersey a few months ago in March, you saw that we had two figures on display. One was kind of like an Arctic explorer dwarf. One was an Egyptian soldier of Ra warrior. Those are a new line or a new idea with figure parts that we're going to be putting out. They're basically called custom kits. And what they're meant for is going back to that thing that I said, why the Kitsune figures with parts worked so well, because we showed a recipe. The people said, I buy this figure, I buy this head, I buy this tail, pop it together, I have my custom. That same mentality at a larger scale. So starting with the Deluxe Legion Builders wave, we came up with a number of kits where you're going to be able to buy a series of parts and one of those figures. We're going to offer them together, where you buy the figure, buy the parts, slap them together. We're going to offer them unpainted if you just want the parts, and kind of like a model kit almost, put it together yourself. And we're going to offer fully painted versions as well if you just want that custom figure. Eventually, we will also offer all of the parts piecemeal. So if you just want the Egyptian sword or the kind of Egyptian bird mask, you can do that. Or if you just want the snowshoes, those are the two that we've revealed so far. The Arctic Dwarf, which is meant to go with the new Deluxe Dwarf Legion Builder, that's going to go with that. The Egyptian Soldier of Ra kit is going to go with the Deluxe Gladiator. We have a couple others that we're going to debut as well. That mentality. And when you look at these pieces, a lot of the parts, we have a head sculpted by one person, weapons sculpted by another, soft goods by another. It's, again, back to that same mentality, back to the same spirit that is so important to Legion Shop. Collaboration, cooperation, and just making really cool stuff that we can all enjoy. So happy 1-year anniversary, Legion Shop. It's been an amazing year, and seriously, from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of my partner, Joe, every single person that has supported Legion Shop, thank you. When you get those pieces in and you post your haul pictures and you say, just got this stuff from Legion Shop, super excited, thank you. That type of community promotion is incredibly exciting and invaluable to our success. It has been an incredibly wonderful year to be involved with this. I can't wait for what's ahead. I can't wait to work with more artists, and I can't wait to get all this stuff to you starting this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, LegionsShop.com. It's going to be the biggest sale, the most parts we've ever offered. We're excited. So let's see. What do we got going here? What questions we have? Yeah, Melissa talking about that, saying she wanted to go crazy with the paint job. Well, the good news is, Melissa, I sent her one for herself. So hopefully she's going to have that that one that she can at least really spread her wings with. Will the Ogre scale orcs be available at LegionsCon? Are you asking about the actual ogres like this? Are you asking about this thing here? If they're going to be at LegionsCon, these are sold out right now at Four Horsemen Studios. These are a much older wave, Siege at Bjorngar, so I doubt that they will be at LegionsCon. The Jugger Ogre Knot heads probably will be. Braku Prime, no, the fancy rotating bases, those are by Noah Pratt. We do not have any of those in stock yet. So Noah, if you're watching, people are asking, we need more product. Thank you, Eric, for the anniversary wishes. Joe saying, I've gotten many great quality pieces from the shop and I can't wait to get more. Thank you so much. Are there images of the two figures you just mentioned? Which two figures did I just mention? I honestly don't remember which I just mentioned. I say things and I forget what I say. So which two figures, Pablo? Oh, the Arctic Dwarf Kit and the so the Arctic Dwarf is in the case. The Soldier of Rod, there's no pictures of because it's not finished. The one that I showed at ToyCon actually was unpainted. So all the parts were unpainted. It was very prototype form and it didn't survive the trip home. It actually got knocked over at the show and part of it shattered. So I don't have that. This I've shown in the past. This is the Arctic Dwarf Kit, and this is my custom. This is not the full kit. The soft goods that are going to be available aren't on this part here, but the head, you can see that's the Arctic Dwarf head where it's actually got the, and see if I can zoom in on this a little bit more, where it's actually got the, like a fur-covered hood on with the beard, and then it's got the snowshoes on the bottom of his feet that plug in, and then his dwarf axes. It's kind of like a mixture of a dwarf axe with an ice pick. He will also have a fur-lined kind of robe, kind of like what Thor and Oakenshield wore in The Hobbit. We're having Strupp Family Crafts do a piece like that, and that's going to be the soft goods piece for it as well. So that's the Arctic Dwarf that I have, and the body on that is a combination of parts meant to simulate what the build pieces on that Silver Dwarf are going to look like. Shout out to Vincent Garma for making the awesomest sheaths of all times. Absolutely super, super cool parts. Whenever he messages me and says, I have an idea for a new part, I'm excited because I know it's going to be something I wasn't thinking of, and he's going to surprise me. So with that, I'm going to call it a night. I'm still kind of on Ireland time, which is 5 hours ahead. So for me, it feels a little bit late. I'm getting there though. I got home Monday, so I'm getting there. Once again, remember not only about the LegionsShop sale this Saturday, remember that the pre-order for Grave Knight ends the day after that, ends on the Sunday. Do not sleep on that. That is very, very exciting. Again, stay tuned. A lot more cool stuff coming in the weeks and months to come. It is going to be a wonderful ride through the end of the year. A great time to be a Legions fan. A lot of really exciting projects that are going to be debuted throughout the year. I can only say so much. Very, very cool. Thank you, everyone. Great show as always. Great audience as always. Can't do the show without the audience. Can't do the show without you. I'll be back next week. Same Mythic time, same Mythic channel. We'll have another Mythic conversation. Can't wait to talk to you then. Good night, everyone.